Today's commentary considers this sage proverb: "In idle wishes fools supinely stay, but be there a will, and wisdom finds a way." Wallowing in a soap opera-esque quagmire of petulant partisan agendas, the Washington establishment elite contentiously play politics with America's all-important health-care needs. They cleave to an immutable ideologue's arrogance of opposing supremacies that reek of my way or the highway. Gridlocked in willful discontent, it's as if they're all cast members of my grandma's favorite daytime TV soap opera, General Hospital. Yep, that's right. Just what the Washington swamp dwellers need: another contrived daytime TV soap opera medical drama. It's no secret that this broadcast has supported the Trump populist platform right from the beginning. We defended him from the cheap, sensationalistic, sucker punch gotcha questions of Megyn Kelly, the scathing ridicule of the pseudo-intellectual National Review arch-conservative alt-right Republican elitists, and the left-wing mainstream propagandist fake news assaults of MSNBC, CNN, and the New York Times. We even mounted a most insightfully instructional and, may I say, quite successfully exonerating experts' treatise on the willfully weaponized Access Hollywood tapes, the ensuing result of which assuredly contributed to Trump's ultimate victory. What the tantruming crybabies of the DNC will never cop to is the fact that top-heavy governmental socialism, in any of its ambition-killing aberrant Marxist examples, will never replace the instinctive diversity of a person's individuality, or, for that matter, his need to creatively actualize the uniqueness of his talents as far as they may take him in life. Reaping the rewards of its bountiful creative industry, all individuals pursue happiness in their own special way, with an inalienable right to economically benefit in accordance to their prevailing levels of mastery and accomplishment. In other words, there are no free rides in life. Not unlike Isaac Newton's physical observations of water and gravity, you inevitably earn what you get and get what you deserve in this world. And, in defiance of the economic laws of physics, you can't put lipstick on the notions of a failing socialistic pig. Every presidential administrative hierarchy since time immemorial trying to install an Obama-esque veiled form of socialistic big governmental solutions has abysmally failed, with Obamacare right at the top of his own list of executive, ideological, legislative blunders. What the far-right, arch-conservative National Review, Ayn Rander, Buckley-esque Republican Party, Washington insider purists are in dire need of facing up to is that their alt-right notion of greedy privileged governmental elitism at the expense of the American working populace at large has been now and forevermore rendered dead on arrival to the American human experience. How swiftly you Republicans forget the would-be beneficial possibilities of an emerging Trump administration, your party's most magnificent historical windfall ever. And the spoiled brat Democrat Party is equally culpable to their own special brand of administrative irrelevancy and decrepitude, propelled by its obscenely obstinate, temper-tantruming, sore loser, power-lusting mentality. It would seem that they are much more interested in subverting Trump's successful attempt at facilitating the will of the suffering American people who elected him than they are effecting the necessary repeal of Obama's disastrously ineffective health care debacle. I mean, the arrogantly pathetic Freedom Caucus, along with the Heritage Action Club for Growth Foundation, were actually gloating over Paul Ryan's failure to convince them. But their pathetically shameful and dismissive deportment to the American people was rivaled only by Ryan's persuasive impotence itself. Understand, America, this was not Trump's fault. Not at all. Donald Trump sits in the Oval Office today at the unanimous behest of the heretofore betrayed, downtrodden, and disillusioned American heartlanders that put him there in the first place. Make no mistake, these proud, hard-working populist patriots are the strong back and broad shoulders of our beloved country, and they always have been. They do all the economic heavy lifting, and, more than any elitist, privileged, parasitic Washington insider, They're the ones that most richly deserve the bountiful fruits of their hard-toiled labors in pursuing the American dream. I'm just wondering, is your vantage so skewed by the claptrap of extremist, bipartisan, anti-Trump party zeal that you would honestly be entertaining a notion of our president's incompetency? God, what delusional arrogance! And what a dismissive insult to the will of the American people that our president is so loyally trying to serve. Trump knows exactly what he's doing and does not seek the external acceptance, validation, or approval of Washington's elitist insider swamp dwellers to influence his course of decisive executive action. It's no secret that the Republican Party's hardliner conservatives despise Trump from the very beginning. They tried to distance themselves from his candidacy like one might that socially repugnant, embarrassingly behaved drunken uncle that nobody wanted to invite over for Christmas dinner. If you recall, even after the urging of RNC Chairman Reince Priebus himself, a defiantly petulant Paul Ryan refused to endorse or even converse with Trump. Then, in a shameless, self-serving 11th-hour exploitative gesture of fake solidarity, Paul Ryan, like the cheap, fair-weather, good-time Charlie, interloping opportunist scoundrel that he was, along with his peanut gallery of goody-two-shoes frat boys and arch-conservative William Buckley-esque down-ticket Republican do-gooding alt-right Boy Scouts, and, with the greatest of personal self-sacrificial disdain, I might add, finally, with hats in hand, ponied up to their inevitable proposition of pinched-nosed hypocrisy, and reluctantly boarded the Trump train. God, how disrespectfully out of touch with the needs of the American people could Paul Ryan have been. What Ryan and his down-ticket Republican cronies failed to realize, though, is that their high-handed, personally ignorant ideologues' brand of alt-right arch-conservatism has no relevancy or purpose whatsoever to the well-being of the American populace. It's only there to support the willful agenda of the Washington insider elitists. It neither supports nor serves America's wealth or best interest. In fact, it blatantly undermines the quality of life and the socioeconomic well-being of the American populace at large, the political engine that most assuredly drives the Trump train. You see, Trump's power and purpose comes from the American people, and they alone. He doesn't need to play footsie or make backroom deals with the likes of the arch-conservative Republican Freedom Caucus or any of the other self-aggrandizing, self-touted ne'er-do-well body of Washington policy-deciding alt-right interlopers. Trump was overwhelmingly elected to the office of the American presidency based on a lifetime of successful private sector business dealings of the highest international acumen, along with his empathetically abiding connection to the plight of the American people. It's not just a job he was elected to do, but a job he was born to do. In fact, if I was a dissenting member of the Conservative Freedom Caucus, I'd be extremely concerned about not pissing off the will of the American populace that entrusted me to do their bidding in Washington in the first place, lest you still have your job in 2 years. So, with all due tolerance to the partisan heroes and villains of Washington's cumbersome, self-serving, and insufferably arrogant legislative agenda makers, the question here indubitably boils down to Paul Ryan's competency as Speaker of the House to perform his so entrusted charge of persuasively pitching Trump's functional, affordable health care solutions before the Washington legislative powers that be. And to that successful conclusion, I'm sorry to say that history has already adjudicated on Ryan's feeble administrative inadequacies. Time to cut our losses with him, America. Washington swamp dwellers, listen up. Who didn't get the memo? Like it or not, Donald Trump is now our duly elected president. He was lawfully charged with this task by the American populace in accordance to the provisions of our Constitution. As our president, concerning health care, Trump does not need to know how sausage is technically made. As with any powerful captain of industry or corporate CEO, he need only apply the vision of his unique leadership talents to the task of acquiring what type of sausage best serves our country. Then he has merely to hire the best sausage makers in the land to procure it for us. But to the profound misfortune of trusting Americans across our great land, as a health-care sausage maker, Paul Ryan sucked at the task abominably. Let's face it, Paul Ryan would best serve the American populace by stepping down from the House speakership and relinquishing the reins of control to someone infinitely more qualified and experienced in the art of basic organizational corporate sales and negotiating skill. In this regard, Judge Jeanine's Fox News commentary got it completely right. In fact, this commentator personally regards the judge as an American treasure. As a strident old-school champion for truth, her pull-no-punch, hard-edged broadcast commentaries entertainingly slice right through Washington's hypocritical bullshit better than a vintage Muhammad Ali classic beat-down video. It would seem her #1 rated opinion show is resonating with more than just 2 people in our country, but who would know this better than the entire American TV-watching populace themselves? Any way you slice it, America's current healthcare excuse, known as Obamacare, is malodorously replete with every conceivable administratively dysfunctional horror that might be packed into a Stephen King novel. But for Paul Ryan to just incompetently spring a watered-down corrective version of this bill to the House, of what critics lyrically refer to as nothing more than Obamacare light, and we'll fix the rest of it later, maybe, if we even get around to it. It's no wonder a passing consensus could not be achieved on Ryan's watch. I mean, it's more than obvious that Mr. Trump needs a new White House healthcare advisor and sausage maker. And it's more than apparent to the American people that Obamacare must be completely repealed down to its very foundation, then totally replaced with an affordable healthcare system that serves the entire American populace, from the very young to the very old, including all people with existing health conditions. Healthcare is singularly the most important legislation the Trump administration will address in his tenure as our president. It must be done right to serve the well-being of the American populace. America is not some third-world banana republic. We're a wealthy first-world country with the largest economy in the world, and we take care of all our citizens' health care needs. Fashioning and facilitating the complexity of this type of legislation, though, would require a Washington-respected medical doctor's masterful knowledge of the entire insurance system, along with a corporate executive set of sales skills to present a viable finished product to the legislative powers that be. I would now like to advance my considered recommendation on who this very special person might be. But I must first warn all Washington swamp dwellers that the suggestion will most surely spin your little pointed heads around on the tops of your necks, Linda Blair exorcist style. After a soul-searching, unbiased deliberation, I believe Rand Paul to be the most qualified and talented individual in Washington to write and sell this bill to the House and Senate, and for the very indispensable qualifications that I just previously enumerated. You need not agree with his entire political manifest beliefs, but when it comes to health care, there's no one more qualified on the planet to get America's health care done than Rand Paul. I would first appoint Rand Paul to Speaker of the House, a position of commanding authority where he could most effectively carry out this mission. Then I would appoint him as chairman to a special bipartisan exploratory committee on healthcare issues comprised of Washington's most ardently opposing factions. I would then lock them in a room not unlike the sequestered jury in the play 12 Angry Men, and I wouldn't let them out till they reached a unanimous consensus. I would also, as part of that process, have Mr. Trump hold daily progress meetings with this committee, doing what he does best, smoothing out their differences. As a lifelong sociologist, I do know a thing or two about human behavior, and I assure America the stalwart negotiating process with Rand Paul at the helm would, in very short order, successfully repeal and replace Obamacare in its entirety to a very grateful American populace. So, Mr. President, like it or not, the ball is now squarely in your court. I would respectfully advise you to explore the possibilities of Rand Paul as your policy point man and Team Trump lead healthcare ramrod. Take some secret meetings with him, pick his brain, candidly share your healthcare vision with him, and then decide for yourself. But make no mistake, you'll need a fierce, well-connected Washington pit bull at the helm next time, and I'm talking about the fastest, baddest, and most knowledgeable gun for hire on the Hill to get this bill passed. And on that verdict, the judge and I unanimously agree it ain't Pussy Paul Ryan. In Washington, I'm Dave Thomas.
The preceding broadcast was a news service of Gibraltar Studios International. You may email comments to commentary@gibraltarstudiosinternational.com.